Now, I've made it pretty clear, I think, for a lot of people that I refuse to support, I refuse to touch Disney Star Wars in any way anymore. I just don't feel the need to do so. I don't want to give them my view. I don't want to give them my money. And I think I've made that very clear. There's nothing that, a lot of people were like, you should watch Andor, you'll really like it. And I was just like, I'm not. I don't need to. I don't need to watch Disney Star Wars anymore. And the reason why is because no matter how good any of these TV shows may ultimately end up being, even though I think Andor was really the only one that was praised, they're always going to circle back to the sequel trilogy. They're always going to circle back to Rey and her timeline, and essentially they're going to circle back to what ruined Star Wars in the first place, or at least that's what started the ruination of Star Wars, and then after that they kind of just took off with a whole bunch of stuff. But this report has to do with The Mandalorian, so there's a lot of drama obviously around The Mandalorian. There always has been with the whole Gina Carano situation. They have never truly recovered from that whole debacle. And now this latest report kind of leads credence to that. So apparently, The Mandalorian Season 3's premiere viewership is reportedly worse than the Book of Boba Fett. Now, again, the Book of Boba Fett wasn't exactly the best viewership to begin with, and apparently the latest Mandalorian Season 3 premiere is worse than that show. That says quite a lot, because you guys got to remember, Season 1 of Mandalorian was huge, okay? Even I was watching Season 1 of Mandalorian, but then eventually I kind of gave up on it because they started, even before the whole Gina Carano thing, it just started to leave a bad feel to me. I just felt like it was going in the same direction as the sequel trilogy, and I just really didn't feel like watching it anymore, so I lost interest. And then the whole Gina Carano thing happened, and then I really lost interest after that point. I just kind of gave up. So we're going to read this article and see exactly what they're talking about. So it says, a new report claims that The Mandalorian Season 3's premiere viewership is worse than the Book of Boba Fett's premiere viewership numbers. This new report comes from the Wrap and is based on Samba TV data that tracks 3 million households and 25 million televisions. The report claims that the Book of Boba Fett premiere had 2% more viewers than The Mandalorian Season 3. Now that's pretty funny to me, because I feel like The Mandalorian, as of right now anyway, technically should be a bigger name overall for people like normies watching the TV show or into Star Wars, or maybe the casual Star Wars viewers. I feel like The Mandalorian should be a bigger name and should definitely draw more of a viewership, but unfortunately for them, it looks like that's not the case. So it says, not only did the Book of Boba Fett reportedly have higher numbers, but the Wrap also notes that the series had less viewership than Obi Wan Kenobi by 28%. Wow. Now, you also got to keep in mind, guys, Obi Wan Kenobi was a bait and switch show, okay? So their viewership, of course, is going to be higher because everybody thought it was going to be based on characters that they loved from the original Star Wars, and then all they got was the Reva show, right? So this is the problem that happens with Star Wars and with Disney and with entertainment as a whole. Look at The Last of Us. They did the same exact thing. They bait you in with what they know fans want, and then they shove in your face what fans don't want, right? So this is exactly what Obi Wan Kenobi did. So I don't think it's fair to compare The Mandalorian to Obi Wan Kenobi, because people probably watched that show with the intention of seeing Obi-Wan, and all they got was Reva, essentially. So I don't necessarily consider that to be fair, but that's still, damn, 28% less than Obi-Wan. That hurts, especially for a show that just came out in their 3rd season. So it says, however, it does note that the Mandalorian premiere outpaced the most recent Star Wars Disney Plus premiere of Andor by 50%. Now, that's to be expected. Andor as a whole, I don't think had enough clout to make it a bigger name, right? Like, just Andor as its own just didn't have enough clout within the Star Wars universe for the normies to really care or even want to watch. And I think at that point, too, when Andor came out, people were burnt out, man. People were burnt out from Obi-Wan Kenobi. They didn't care. They didn't want to touch Star Wars anymore. So Andor pretty much took it in the butt for a lot of the issues that Disney unfortunately caused within the Star Wars universe. It says Saba TV, for its part, reported The Mandalorian Season 3 drew in 1.6 million households between March 1st and March 5th. And then it says the analytics organization previously reported that the Book of Boba Fett had 1.7 million households tune in to its premiere in the first 5 days of streaming. 2% of 1.7 million is 34,000. If you subtract 34,000 from 1.7 million, you get 1.67 million. That's 70,000 more viewers viewers than Samba TV is reporting. Looking at what Samba TV has publicly reported, the Book of Boba Fett actually beat The Mandalorian by 5.8%. However, the outlet will later claim that the Book of Boba Fett premiere was actually watched by 1.9 million households in its first week. Now, the discrepancy between their initial claim of 1.7 million and 1.9 million could be they factored in 2 more days to complete the week. However, this is unclear and it's uncertain where the extra 200,000 households came from. But with this even larger premiere number, it means that the Book of Boba Fett might have outpaced the Mandalorian premiere by an even larger percentage, 15.8% to be exact. Ouch, that is really, really bad. Obviously, this is without factoring in any potential days added to the Mandalorian's premiere week. Much like the Book of Boba Fett numbers, the percentages the Wrap comes up with do not match up with Samba TV's public numbers. The organization reported Obi Wan Kenobi premiere with 2.14 million viewers tuning into its first 4 days from May 27th to May 30th of 2022. If Obi-Wan Kenobi beat out The Mandalorian by 28%, The Mandalorian's viewership will be around 1.54 million households, not 1.6 as Samba TV reports. The discrepancy here could be Samba TV only publicly reported the first 4 days of streaming, whereas they reported 5 days for The Mandalorian. However, it is unclear if this is indeed the case. Now, listen, you never know if Samba TV is in the pockets of certain people, right? So when they report this stuff, they need to report it in the best light when it comes to certain companies. And if you were to tell me a conspiracy theory about Disney basically being in the pockets of a lot of these review companies and a lot of these analytic companies, I would be inclined to believe you, because there's been proof of a lot of reporters getting paid on the side to report good things about certain TV shows, certain products. So it's not completely out of the realm of believability for me. But it does make sense that they are seemingly reporting their analytics in a very strange and inconsistent way. And I wonder why that is regarding Star Wars. It makes you kind of raise an eyebrow, you know? It says, while The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere reportedly had lower viewership than both Obi-Wan Kenobi and The Book of Boba Fett, it did have higher viewership than the premiere of The Mandalorian Season 2, at least based on Samba TV's reporting. Samba TV previously reported The Mandalorian Season 2 premiere was viewed by 1.04 million US households. So at least it beat out its own Season 2, which is interesting to me. But I don't look for necessarily the first episode's viewership. I know a lot of these companies try to rely on the premiere viewership because that's what's going to make them look the best, right? I look at consistent viewership. How many people are staying after the first or second episode? Do you drop off 50%? Do you drop off 60%? Or do you maintain damn near 90% of your viewership? You know what I mean? That's what means the most to me, because that goes to show how good a TV show is, in my opinion. So I'm going to be inclined to see what Mandalorian Season 3 actually pulls analytically. I'm not watching this show. I'm not going to be reviewing this show. I know a lot of people have asked me to do so, but I'm not going to do it because I just don't. I can't, man. I can't support Disney Star Wars. I just can't. Disney Star Wars, for me, is just completely dead, and I have no reason. I don't even want to trash it at this point. I don't care. I don't care what happens in the storyline. I don't care what happens in the continuity. None of that stuff matters to me anymore for Disney Star Wars. It's completely dead to me. But of course, I can review, analytics and stuff. That's something different. I could talk about how the show is doing, but ultimately, I'm not going to watch it. It says, however, Samba TV's numbers are also called into question, given they do not match up with Nielsen's premiere numbers for the various shows. Nielsen does not track the shows based on a number of households, but rather by minutes viewed, so that the quantity of episodes and length of the episodes could be caused to skew the data. But given the numbers from Nielsen, it's hard to think it's skewed by the amount that it did. The Nielsen numbers show that The Mandalorian Season 2 premiere outperformed both Obi-Wan Kenobi and The Book of Boba Fett premieres, unlike Samba TV's claim that Obi-Wan Kenobi beat out both The Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian Season 2. Nielsen reported that The Mandalorian Season 2 premiere raked in 1.030 billion minutes viewed in its first week and 955 million minutes in its second week. They reported that The Book of Boba Fett brought in 389 million minutes in its first week and 563 million minutes in its second week. Obi-Wan Kenobi brought in 958 million minutes in his first week and declined to 682 million minutes in its second week. That is rough. That is rough. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It lost almost 250 million minutes in just 1 week. So as they kept putting out more episodes, it got completely destroyed because nobody was falling for the bait and switch after the first episode. Unfortunately for Obi-Wan Kenobi, they just blew their load too quick. They showed their hand too fast, and people caught on to it, and they realized, oh, this is going to be a bait and switch. This is not going to be about Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is going to basically be about Reva and giving her all the clout and allowing her to be the whole reason why Luke Skywalker was actually safe in the first place, and they took that away from Obi-Wan. So ultimately, we're going to see how Mandalorian Season 3 actually fares in terms of viewerships consistently. I'm gonna probably say that it's going to lose a lot of viewership over time, without a doubt. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.